Most people I know are going through some up and down, tumultuous, energetic times. Um, it doesn't affect everybody the same way, and it doesn't affect everybody. So, what I'm trying to say is that November 5th is not the same as back in March of 2020. However, many people, you may or may not be one of them, many people are feeling a lot of feelings, and a lot of those feelings are crisis feelings. If this is you, keep listening. I developed this ebook back in March of 2020 to address the world crisis then. And when I woke up on November 6th, I decided it was time to dust it off. Now, I haven't updated it, but yet that's not going to stop me from putting it out into the world. So I'm going to go over some of the highlights from the wisdom of 2020, almost 5 years ago now, about 4.5 years ago ish, and see how does it affect now and what can we do to get ourselves out of crisis mode, get us grounded and centered, and more of ourselves. That's really what this point is. Because as leaders, as influencers, as strategic thinkers, life can get us off kilter, and we can feel scattered, and we can feel off balance, and we can feel not ourselves. That's what this is for. So I created this Savvy Business Owner's Guide to Thinking Strategically During a Crisis for that exact reason. I am going to just show you some highlights here. Here are the highlights. When we are thinking about safety and security, and some of you are, I have spoken to people that do not feel safe. Please recognize, and you know this, and please recognize that those feelings are real, and those feelings are at the bottom of the pyramid. I'll call it the productivity pyramid. It's Maslow's needs and so on, but this one's mine. Productivity pyramid. That's the bottom, right? Beyond that, we have our healthy foundation, our supportive environment, our systems, and our productive best. Now, again, I did this back in 2020 when I was known as a productivity specialist. I've evolved a bit since then, but of course, I still know a lot about this, and it still applies, even as who I am now, which is the Beacon of Light Center, and a much more, I will say, evolved productivity and business coach. But still, this applies. So what I want to say, after you see this, then the next thing is, go to the next slide. Okay. Here, this is really important. Know the 10 stages of crisis. Number 1, disbelief. As I talked to some folks on the 6th and 7th and even 8th, and maybe even now, they were in disbelief. Okay? It may or may not be you. If it's not you, please disregard this and ask yourself, how does this apply to me? Because wherever we are, we're not a country of unity anymore. Obviously we never were, but we're less so now. So my goal is to get ourselves grounded here, but also then I would like to see us knit back together, because in the end, we're all humans and we deserve love, and each and every one of us deserves to be loved. So disbelief is our first thing. Then we have our panic. Like, oh my gosh, I talked to several people like this. Like, I'm going to have to take business owners who would say, I'm going to have to take everything that comes my way, because what if my child loses their health insurance? I'll be up the creek with no paddle. And it's a real feeling, okay? What about my life's work? I've talked to business owners whose life's work is very much compromised by this shift, okay? Anger and blame. Then once this is kind of seeping in, then we get angry, we get blame. What we start to talk about the other side is that they're evil, okay? That's anger and blame. Next would be sadness, grief, right? Grief. Like we have to grieve what we no longer have. Okay? Acceptance. We accept. This is a really important part. If you can only get to acceptance, you're doing great. Because when we accept what is true, it no longer has power over us. And we are no longer our emotions. We accept something that we may not like, and we accept it. Next, readjustment, strategizing. What does this mean? How do we strategize? How do we keep things going? Okay, attuning to a new normal. So every life is a guarantee. Life will switch and change. And many times, if not most times, it probably won't go the way you want it to. It's life. We can affect politics. We can affect our income. We can affect our success. All we can really do is do our steps the best we can with what we have from where we are, and that is all, right? So readjustment and strategizing, very important. Attuning to that new normal, listening for strategic prosperity. You know, let's face it, the stock market has increased a lot. There is some strategic prosperity. I don't know whether it's going to stay like that. Probably it won't. And we always want to look for the kernel of what we believe is good, especially if we don't believe the rest is good. Now, if we think this is going great, it's exactly how it's supposed to be, please have compassion for people who don't believe that. And that's what I would ask of you, is that we knit ourselves together as human beings. That's what I would really love to do. Adjusting as required, and then peace. Because in the end, while this is really hard to believe, I have learned over the last 10 or 15 years that we can choose to be peaceful regardless of our external circumstances. Now, is it easier to be peaceful when you have, running water, heat, air conditioning, plenty of food, a comfortable bed, than to be homeless and penniless and handless and in danger? Absolutely it is. And it is still possible to be peaceful regardless of what is going on the outside. And when we can believe this and then take steps toward it, it is so unbelievably powerful. And can you imagine for a moment each and every person on this planet believing that something good is coming? What might be possible if that were the truth of what is? I don't know. But what I do know is that I have been through world crises, personal crises, employment crises, health crises, like so many crises. And I know I have more. And when I think back on all the crises that I've been through, each and every time there has been something that I believe is positive that has evolved from it. And I will point out one of the last ones. One of the last ones was the pandemic. What came out of that for me, actually, it was it was earlier than the pandemic. My apologies. I created the Beacon of Light Center 8 years ago when I was in a mini political crisis. Then I did have good stuff also to come out of the pandemic as well. But we're gonna stay with 8 years ago. That is, I was absolutely devastated, and what ended up happening was I went to a retreat, and I was given an opportunity to myself and the other participants to create a collage. And what came out of my heart and soul was the Beacon of Light Center, and that vision was there 8 years ago and has slowly crystallized into what I have now, which is the Beacon of Light Center LLC. It's why I'm no longer Efficient Productivity Systems. It's why I know in my heart and my soul, right down to the ground and the center and core of the earth, that I am meant to help solopreneurs in this moment. I mean, Beacon of Light Center is much bigger, but in this moment, to assist and support solopreneurs to do their great work in the world, and remain centered, grounded, focused, and take steps of action to get to where they didn't believe they could actually get to, especially if they've gone through any kind of crisis, any kind of trauma with a big T, trauma with a little t. And wherever you are, please look at this. And if you're in a place where you're ready to take action, and you won't be. If you're down at safety and security, you're going to have to deal with really deep healing. But if you are higher than that, and if you're starting to move out and you're in anger and blame and you're in sadness and grief, if you're there or anywhere else besides just full-on safety and security, reach out to me, and here's why. I have decided to take this opportunity to be very generous. And rather than having you wait for January for my next opportunity to work with me to rejigger yourself to get ready for the big fat changes that are starting essentially right now, I'm giving 3 people 3 extra coaching sessions starting immediately. First step, contact me. We'll have a private conversation, no obligation, and to see if you're the right fit to be one of those 3 lucky people. And if you're one of those 3 lucky people, I will be so thrilled to serve you, because the world is in crisis. The world will have more crises going along. The world needs you. The world needs us. Let's take action, proactive action, productive action. Let's not stay stuck in fear. That's not good. I will see you on the other side. I cannot wait to serve you. Please reach out, and I want to talk to you. Thank you.